My name is Mohammed Al-Malki. I'm a trainee diplomat at AGDA. It is my pleasure to interview His Excellency Leonardo Simao. His Excellency Leonardo Simao has an outstanding career throughout his life. He started as a medical officer at district and provincial level. He then became the Director of Health in Zambia and Mozambique. He held the position of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation at Mozambique. I would also like to add that His Excellency is the Executive Director of the Joaquim Seixano Foundation and the Chairman of the South African Development Community and Chairman of the Steering Committee at the Business Environment Support Fund in Mozambique. If I may, Your Excellency, I would like to say bem-vindo à Sua Excelência.
Obrigado. So you speak Portuguese?
Just a bit. I can understand it.
Yeah.
So let us start with our first question. My first question is, why does diplomacy matter? And do we still need diplomats in this world?
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you very much for your invitation. Diplomacy matters and more than ever before. Different countries have different interests. They have different outlooks. And secondly, the world is becoming more and more complex. And in a changing world, when things are becoming more complex, to harmonize interests and to keep peace and stability internationally is becoming more and more challenging. And only the diplomats have the tools to harmonize interests and to help to craft a compromise among countries. Sometimes it's not possible to solve the difference between countries or among countries, but it's always possible to craft a compromise on that. And no one else in a society has the necessary skills to do that than the diplomats. So diplomacy is important, and diplomats are more important than ever before.
What are the most significant ways that tomorrow's diplomats differ from today's diplomats?
The diplomats of the future, they have to deal with more and more complex issues than before. Before it was more of politics. Yeah. Both national and mainly international politics. Today it's more different because there are economic interests involved. More, actually, even yesterday they were there. Yeah. But today these economic interests are more acute because of the climate change. The very simple existence of countries is threatened by climate change. Yeah. And also many other interests countries are faced with. And therefore, diplomats of the future have to have a better understanding of all these new challenges or the dimension of these new challenges and to position themselves because they will have to continue to play their role of trying to harmonize interests on that.
Thank you, Your Excellency. For the third question is, what are the three most important characteristics, or you may say skills, of good diplomats, and which ones do they mostly commonly lack?
This is a very subjective issue. But for me, the first skill is to be able to listen. Today, world, people don't listen. People are more driven to express what they have than to listen to the others. And the success of diplomacy depends more on listening to the others than to say what you want to say. The second aspect, which is we are losing, is time. We are always in a rush.
True.
Many things cannot be solved because we do it too quickly. They don't mature enough. And some of these issues, they need time to mature. Why is that? Because in many, particularly when you're dealing with the conflicts, or dealing with the differences between countries, you have one component, which is emotional component or psychological component. And psychological issues need time to subside. And therefore, to avoid rushing, it's another requirement, I think. The third one, I'm a bit divided because it's to the command of a communication. Diplomats usually communicate outside the country. They don't communicate within the country. And therefore, the normal citizens do not understand what the diplomats are doing because they don't communicate with them.
So there is some like miscommunication. If you would
Yes,
say.
we have to develop more public communication nationally. Yeah, so diplomats has to be perceived by society as people who are solving national problems. This country, men or women, they are working outside the country or with the foreigners in order to protect and promote national interest. So we need to do more of public diplomacy nationally. So I think these are the three issues.
Perfect. What would be your one key message to diplomats starting out on a diplomatic career?
Well, I think they have to understand that the career is very long. Yeah, it's been for 25 years plus. Yeah, so, and we have to take all these steps. But you have to also to uptake the challenge of learning all the time, continuously, challenging yourself intellectually so that you are up to standard. Yeah, your profession requires. Yeah, a lot of pressure, the intellectual pressure is on diplomats, and therefore to learn continuously and to have this long-term perspective in your career is important. Otherwise, you all think that, well, you're going to cut corners, and this is not good.
So you could say that we have to be more patient.
Yes.
More
actively patient.
active.
Yeah, because you are active. You are acquiring new skills. You are developing yourself professionally. Yeah. You're not just sitting idly and waiting the time to go by. No.
Your Excellency, can you share with us an example of a successful diplomacy that you have witnessed? And tell us what is your view made it so effective?
I served 2 terms as Foreign Minister of Mozambique. A lot of things happened. Yeah, so it's difficult to say to pinpoint. But I will take one of them, which has a very of historic proportion, which is the end of apartheid in Africa. Apartheid was a big challenge, not only to Africa, but to the rest of the world. It was seen as the symbol of oppression, is the symbol of inequalities. And to bring end of apartheid without fighting, it was a big achievement of diplomacy. Yeah. So this is just one example.
Your Excellency, if you may, how challenging did you find the shift from being the Minister of Health to the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Well, I had 2 challenges. One is of each occupation, if you want, or profession, needs an appropriate mindset. Yeah, and during my career, I had to go through different things. And I was forced by circumstances to adopt the right mindset for each one of them. On health, you are dealing with a more concrete world of how many children to vaccinate, how many maternities to build, how many ambulances to buy. So you are dealing with a more concrete world. And it's almost confined to national boundaries. Yeah. As foreign minister, you have to take a different mindset. You are dealing with the rest of the world. And sometimes we're discussing issues which may not be of immediate relevance to your country, but you have to take a view or an opinion on them. And you have to have a better understanding of the others. So the mindset challenging was different. And also intellectually, because one thing is to deal with the things which you are familiar with. Yeah, so you don't have much to learn about it. But you go to a diplomatic world, you have to learn every day everything.
So on-the-job learning.
Yes, that's why I was saying that being a diplomat, you have to learn every day. Yeah.
Your Excellency, could you share with us of which achievement you are the proudest of during your tenure as the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Well, it's difficult. It's very difficult, impossible, to separate what I did with what my colleagues as a team did and with the country did. Yeah, because I never worked alone. So there is nothing I can say, oh, this I did alone. No. I was always part of a team, sometimes team leaders, but also a part of the team. But what I can say that is one of our achievements in Mozambique was to have a successful end of the war in Mozambique and a process of national reconstruction successfully, yeah, with the support of all international community, yeah. But this was not something I did myself, but I was part of the team which achieved that. Put an end to the war, yeah, of a civil war, and then to start a process of national reconstruction and reconciliation.
Your Excellency, I'm really grateful that you came here and gave us a piece of your wisdom, if you may say. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much.